Well, hello students. Well, welcome to What is Your Brand? The building blocks of creating a powerful brand. I'm going to discuss 5 strategies of creating a powerful brand. What is a brand? Well, in essence, your brand is your identity. It's who you represent to the world. It's what you tell the marketplace that you are. And so this covers your name. For example, your name. What is your name? What's your company name, your brand name? What is your logo? Covers your logo, your domain name. What are you going to be known on the internet, as? Your stationery, it represents your brand. So everything that you do should represent, your brand. Your brochures, all your marketing materials. It is important to be very consistent across all platforms with your brand. For example, let's take a look at some of my brands. Here is my Facebook page, parts of it. Notice what it says here: encouraging, empowering, and energizing you to reach your goals. I have the same header on Twitter. And even though I don't have the same exact wording on LinkedIn, you can see some of my pictures cut across all my social media presence. If you look on Instagram, for example, you'll see this picture. If you look at my personal Facebook page, you'll see this picture. If you look on YouTube, you'll see this picture. So I try to keep it consistent across all platforms. Let me actually share something with you, about the power of a brand. Studies have shown that generic or private label products contain the exact same ingredients as our favorite brands. However, consumers overwhelmingly pay more for the same exact ingredients just because of a brand name. So this is the importance of a brand, and we're going to discuss what are the elements that make up your brand. Just the name and the domain and the social media presence is part of it, but what goes into that, into making your brand really strong. And really, one of the strongest components of your brand is your values, your personal value system. What do you stand for? What do you want to be known for? What do you want your brand to be known for? And which really, your brand is really you. Do you want to stand for honesty? Is that what you're trying to project? Integrity. I have here value, good value for service, good value for product. Compassion. Do you want to be known as someone who has a lot of compassion? Do you want to be known as a family-oriented brand? You're family-friendly. You have to think about all these things, and you shouldn't make this stuff up. This should really flow naturally from who you are. Everyone has a certain set of values, but you have to be your authentic self. And actually, one of the things that you could actually be known for is being authentic. Now, your authentic self, it could be different from my authentic self. That's why it's called authenticity. So do you want to be known for just being authentic? That's big. An encouraging person, encouragement, empowerment. What are your values? That is going to be a big part when you're coming up with your brand. What do you want the world to know and to think about you? When they see your brand, what do you want them to think? Think about some of your favorite brands. Why do you buy a Michael Kors bag, for example? Is it the value? What is it? Why do you buy Starbucks coffee? Why do you buy that over Dunkin' Donuts coffee if you do? What is, what exactly is your reason? Because this is the same way how, people are going to be considering you for your brand. So values is an important part to consider. What are your values? The third component is authority. What qualifies you to do what you do? Why should I buy from you? Are you qualified to be in the marketplace selling the products or the service that you're selling? Why should I use you? What is your reputation in the community? What are clients saying about your service or about your product? Do you have any referrals? Have you been on the television or on the radio or in the newspaper, in a magazine? And some of the ways that you can establish authority is you can actually write a book. Have you written a book? These are some of the things that you can do to establish authority, because people want to know, why should I choose your product, your restaurant, your nursing home, your youth group, as opposed to someone else? What qualifies you to do that? And I'll show you here on the next page. On my website, I actually, and this is just a marketing strategy for my brand, I actually put on my website where have I been featured. I have here the Wellington magazine, television, I've been in several newspapers, magazines. This is important because I am presenting myself as a coach. And, the world wants to know, why should they pay me money? Who am I? And so I am basically telling them, hey, I have been featured by these prominent newspapers and magazines and television, so go check me out. And so you have to consider that as well when you're considering your brand. You have to think, what can I do to establish authority in my area? Very, very important. And I'll discuss a couple of ideas with you later on. Visibility, and this kind of ties in a little bit with the authority. Where can I find you? Are you advertising? Some brands, you see them on billboards. You're driving down the street and you see the brand name, billboards. It helps you to recognize the brand. Are you on social media? Do you have a blog? These are some of the things that you can do to increase your visibility, because if we don't know you're there, why will we purchase your product or your service? Have you been written up in the newspaper like I mentioned before? Have you sponsored anyone? Have you underwritten, a little league, junior league team or a little league team? Have you sponsored a charity event? These are some of the ways that you can actually get your brand out there. You can partner up with a nonprofit. Have you volunteered at a soup kitchen? These are, again, some of the ways that you can show yourself in the community by volunteering and, getting that somehow in the media. You have to create news. Okay, this is very important for your brand. If you are a restaurant, for example, one of the things that you could do is one day you could have a Feed the Homeless day. That will create news, let me tell you. On one of your slow days, Feed the Homeless. Call the newspaper in, call the television station, and they love to cover stuff like that. You can host an event, a charity event. You could host just stuff, items like that. You have to create news. You have to be visible. And sometimes, we may say, well, we can't afford to advertise, but with social media nowadays, if you're smart, you can get your name really out there. They're the typical channels that we know are Facebook, we know LinkedIn, we know Twitter, there's Instagram. For those of you who are, like for example, in a restaurant business, you could post your recipes, you could post pictures of your meals. I mean, there's so many places to advertise. It won't cost you any money. So think about how you can become more visible with your brand. And a fifth component you might want to consider is, and this is important, intellectual property. Are you protected? And usually my husband, the attorney, he handles this part, but did you incorporate your business? Is your business name protected? Do you have a domain name, for example? That's important. Does someone else already have your name? Let me give you a quick example. Years ago, when I began my charity, I was called Life Steps Foundation. And I operated underneath that name for about 2 or 3 years. And I began to build a brand under that name. However, there was another company called Life Steps. They were a multi-million-dollar charity in California, and I'm in Florida. But my web presence began to grow, and I began to get their mail, and just began to get, just some of their correspondences. I began to get their phone calls. Now, again, I'm on the East Coast or on the West Coast. Well, eventually they contacted me because they wanted my domain name. But I already started building a brand under my own domain name. But when I waited, I thought, well, I was only 3 years in, and they were about 10, 20 years in. And I wanted to change my direction anyway. So I actually sold them my domain name for a very tidy profit. Now, this could have been tricky because I could not have sold them my domain name, and we would continue to have problems on the internet because we're both online. They're called lifesteps.org. I'm lifestepsfoundation.org. We're both nonprofits. So you see, if you don't do the research and protect your domain and secure your domain name, you could get into trouble later on. You build a brand, and then later on you have problems. when I wanted to secure my own name, SharonGill.com, someone had already purchased that name and parked it. A lot of companies do this. So they offered me my own name for about $2,000, which I wasn't willing to pay for. So what I did, I told them to go look me up online, see the kind of work that I've been doing, the charities that I've been supporting, the charities that I've actually started, and to negotiate with me. And I finally got my name for $200, and then I secured my own name. So some of you may be considering branding your own name. Is your name available? You know, check and see, but protect your name, incorporate your business, make sure you have a secure domain name. You may want to trademark your name, copyright your name. These are things you have to consider when building and establishing your brand. So we're going to leave it at that for today. We'll continue the training later on, but for right now, that's it for today. Thank you.